NASCAR in South Carolina for the Southern 500 that saw a brand new winner lock himself into the postseason. Championship hopes come to an end for most of the field. An extraordinarily tight regular season championship that came down to a single point, and one former champ starting to look more like himself. But is it too little, too late? And now the 2024 playoffs have been set.
High, push it, checker flag, hell yeah!
What's the caution for? Me?
Can I not push it in?
Stop anybody.
Come on, he's going! Way to go, boys! One hell of a job, man, one hell of a job. Thank you so much.
Oh, Gearheads, what an amazing regular season finale, amazing Southern 500, amazing first-time winner of the Southern 500, and in 2024, feel bad for Kyle Busch. We're going to break it all down. We're going to get into the 2024 Southern 500, but before we do, make sure that you mash that subscribe button so that you do not miss a video, and of course, make sure that you log on to arnrace.com for the latest motorsports news. ARN, the Motorsports Authority. This race kind of had it all, man. I'm being serious. I mean, you had the on-track drama with the points, not only for the 16th and final position in the playoffs, but also for the regular season title. You had this immense battle happening all night, and you had guys get off pit sequence early. You saw a little bit of everything on this racetrack, and I absolutely loved it. Let's go ahead and get on into the actual race review and talk about how the Southern 500 played out in 2024. Starting very, very early on, lap 2, Martin Truex Jr. with a mistake, getting loose underneath Byron in the 24, and unfortunately the 12 car of Blaney, wrong place, wrong time. I mean, way too early. They were battling for 7th, and I get it. You don't want to give up spots early on, but lap freaking 2, you end your race and you take out the 12 car. Just, he did lock himself in about, I think it was like 200 laps later, they announced, oh, he's locked in based on points. Meh. Why that wasn't the case 200 laps earlier when he had earned no points is simply because the first two stages came to an end. Everybody who was awarded points by that point were going to get extra points, and nothing else came until the end of the race. So basically by the end of stage 2, it was like, oh, MTJ's locked in his final season, which is great, but damn, you don't want to see him not have a shot at the Southern 500 because of an early mistake on lap number 2. Now, fast forward a good bit of ways, Tyler Reddick getting sick in the car. He did throw up and unfortunately soiled himself in his driver's suit, and that's just gross. It's disgusting, obviously. That goes without saying, but it really sucks when you think about the fact that Tyler Reddick had to sit there with all of this on him in his suit for the rest of this race. This is around lap 100 when there's still a good 260 plus laps to go. Oh boy, I feel for the guy, and the fact that he almost got out, there was talk about Martin Truex Jr. potentially jumping in the 45 car if Tyler got sicker. They gave him Tums through the window in a little pouch with some crackers and some things to help his stomach. Didn't really help him because he got the Tums in his mouth because you can grab those with a glove. You can't really grab swallowable pills, tiny pills with the glove and then try to get them up and underneath. I felt bad for him because he clearly was struggling in the car. So they came up with the solution of actually mixing all of this into an actual bottle of water. They dissolved all these and just shook it up and handed that to him. And it was working. He got through stage number 2 a little bit better, and then the medicine started to wear off towards the end, so they gave him more for the start of stage 3, and obviously he powers back and wins the regular season championship by a single point over Kyle Larson, who's really regretting not starting the Coke 600 earlier this year, because that's a point. There could have been multiple places where you earn 1 point or 2 points, and damn, you got to feel for the 5 car on that one. We fast forward to lap number 190. Hamlin, Berry, Busch, Dillon all off pit sequence. This is kind of a pit strategy issue to get that ground back later in the run. I actually really like this idea, get off sequence, because yeah, if you're going with what everybody else is doing, especially the 5 car early on, you weren't winning this race. You weren't having a shot at this because nobody could get to that 5 car. Your only chance is to get off sequence and try something, and you might as well at that point. And that's exactly what we saw out of these drivers. Now, Larson winning stage 1 and 2, he's the guy. He was the guy to beat tonight. He once again is showing why people are having conversations calling him the best driver on the planet right now, because he is very good. He was dominating. It looked like he was going to win this race. And just kind of lost it right there at the end. We're going to get into it. Now, lap 314, host of our spins off of 4, and this really is where everything started to go sideways, so to speak, with about 50 to go, give or take. You had the 17 and the 23 tied for 16th in the points, with the 17 getting it on a tiebreaker because of finishing second twice this year. And then it kind of went downhill from there in the last 50 laps for this battle for 16th. You had the 17 and the 38 get into the wall off of 2, with the 17 feeling that the 38 kind of fenced him for no reason right there. So either he retaliated and right hooked him going down the back straightaway, or bounced off the wall, got loose, and just was trying to hold on to the car at that point. And I tend to believe the latter. It looked like he clearly was struggling. And I think that there wasn't a right hook intentionally right there. I think that was just I'm in the wall, I'm trying to hold on to it, and it is what it is, unfortunately. It did bring out the caution, and made things interesting because it did put the 17 back on pit road with about 40 to go. You had the 23 car stay out, the 17 pits, and then off of pit road, you have the 23 car Bubba Wallace 7th on the racetrack. You have the 17 15th, but that 17 did have the fresh tires. Bubba Wallace had 3 laps on those tires. Those 3 laps are massive at Darlington. Anywhere else, maybe not necessarily, but it's Darlington. This place has always chewed up rubber and always eaten it, and you need fresh tires. If I'm out there for half of a pace lap, I'm thinking new tires as a driver, because that's how drastic a difference new tires are at this racetrack. It's not a Goodyear problem, it's a racetrack thing. This place has always chewed up race tires, period. And then we see the result of that with about 40 to go. You see the 17 is +3, 9th on new tires, and this very much in the closing laps was the 5 versus the 11 versus the 14, and they all showed up, and it's very cool to see a Ford, a Chevy, and a Toyota all battling pretty much equally in the latter 40 laps to go area of this race. 26 laps to go, this is where things get interesting. You have the 14, who is 4th in line with an amazing power move. He goes from the top, makes it 3 wide going into 3, and then goes from 4th to 1st in a single corner. Amazing move. That's the winning move right there. It's where he takes the lead and essentially never looks back. And that move right there, very ballsy, very gutsy, very incredible that move worked. It should not have worked. 9 times out of 10, that will not work. Yet Chase Briscoe pulls it off right there, and that right there was such a really good move. That's the move that we all need to be talking about and watching on replay for years to come. Now, 24 laps to go. We see the 4 car go 3 wide middle with the 11 and the 54, and unfortunately, massive pileup that collects the 4, the 54 of Gibbs, Daniel Suarez, Noah Gregson, the 3 car, the 24, and Bubba Wallace gets into this one as well. Major turning point right there. Effectively ends his championship hopes right there. He tried to battle back, but honestly, it didn't happen. Under that caution, we see some drivers stay out. One of the drivers that does pit and is the first off of pit road is Kyle Busch in the 8 car. He wants fresh tires. He was coming from the back, driving through the field. He likes those fresh tires because he's an experienced driver, 2-time champ. He knows what he's doing out at Darlington. He's won out here before in multiple series. And you're just looking at him going, "Ooh, can he get from outside the top 5 and contend for this one? I don't know." And right around 20 to go, we get that restart, and then all of a sudden, here comes Kyle. He's all the way up to second. Can he track down the 14? And it's looking like shades of 2020 and the NASCAR Xfinity Series race out here at Darlington, where Briscoe and Busch battled, with Briscoe getting the victory over Kyle Busch that day. And once again, history repeats itself. Chase Briscoe holds on for the victory out at Darlington in the Southern 500, second career victory ever for this driver in the Cup Series, locks himself into the playoffs. This one is very special because it could potentially be the last Cup Series victory for Stewart-Haas Racing. 320 people at Stewart-Haas Racing effectively out of work or losing their job at the end of the season, and Briscoe, everybody at Stewart-Haas Racing needed one other victory, needed a victory to go out on a high note, and they picked a really, really, really good one. It worked out beautifully because you have this organization go out there and win one of the biggest races of the year, the Southern 500. This is a crown jewel race. You want to win the Daytona 500, the Southern 500, the Coke 600, and the Brickyard 400. The Bristol Night race is on there as well, kind of, not really, and same with the championship race out in Phoenix. And I want to win this one personally if I'm Chase Briscoe, because it gets you locked into the postseason, and it is such a damn cool place to do it. It's a driver's racetrack. You have to be a phenomenal driver in order to win at this racetrack, and Chase Briscoe did that and proved, in my opinion, he does belong in the Cup Series. I think Joe Gibbs Racing picked up a really good driver for the number 19 next year, and he's a guy who you're going to have to deal with for championships for years to come in that ride. This one was a little interesting, though, because looking at the parallels between 2020 and the Xfinity race here and the Cup race out here tonight in 2024, you got to remember, I don't know if you guys remember, that Chase Briscoe and his wife Marissa unfortunately had a miscarriage the week going into the race out at Darlington, and because we were on lockdown, his wife couldn't be there, so Briscoe was there alone in the Xfinity race, no fans in the stands at all, and got out of the car and cried, bawled his eyes out, because admittingly it was a difficult week, and everybody at the time, including myself, kind of cried for him a little bit. That was a very dramatic win for him and an emotional one, and this one no exception. He's on his way out at Stewart-Haas Racing, going to Joe Gibbs Racing. His future's locked and secured, but I mean, 4 years ago at this race, him and his wife just had the miscarriage. They didn't have a family at the time, and it was emotional, to say the least. Now, tonight, you have Chase winning this race. He's on the front stretch, and here comes his wife, who is very pregnant with twins due in October, and his son is with them on pit road, or on the racetrack, I should say, celebrating with his son in his arms, crying. I mean, it's funny how things work out this way. It's funny how certain racetracks for certain drivers and families and teams have such emotional core memories and impacts for positive and for negatives. And this is one of those places that I think Chase loves and loves to hate a little bit, maybe. I don't know if I'm Chase Briscoe and I'm put through the situation, but incredible victory for him. He's in the playoffs. He takes Stewart-Haas Racing back to victory lane, potentially for the last time in the Cup Series ever. And looking at the rest of the finishing order, you have Kyle Busch coming home second. Again, second week in a row, and not qualifying for the playoffs. Second week in a row. Damn, Rowdy Nation. Y'all okay? Get out of the bathtub, y'all, because that's rough, period. I will say this, though, Kyle Busch, the last couple weeks, obviously, but the last, I would say, like 3-4 races ever since we got back from the Olympic break, definitely is looking more like Kyle effing Busch than not. Honestly, he's going in the right direction. RCR has clearly found something. They found something during the Olympic break, and they're not hitting on it right now. They're obviously missing something. Yes, you had Austin Dillon win out at Richmond. Cool, awesome, great. It didn't count because of how he got that one. But you also have Kyle Busch finishing second the last couple of weeks. You have the 3-car running in the top 10, top 15 for the last couple of weeks. They found something. Whether or not that translates to a victory, who knows? But Kyle Busch is definitely in that phase of his career where he's going to rattle off 1 to 3 victories a year. Championship, I don't necessarily know at this point. I don't necessarily think so, but that potential is certainly there. And you have to honestly ask yourself, where is Kyle going to get a victory this year? Is he going to be able to get a victory this year? I don't know. We're going to have to wait and see. I want to see that streak continue. I want to see him back in victory lane. But when you're running this well, wins are going to come. It's just a question of getting over that hurdle. And I think they're going to get over that hurdle, especially with Kyle Busch behind the wheel of their car. Tyler Reddick, though, picking up the regular season championship by a single point over Larson, Chase Elliott, 29 back. He got sick in the car and powered through that. Props. Massive amount of respect as a driver for this guy, because damn, that was badass. I personally wouldn't have made it. There's no question about it. I would have come down pit road as soon as I started feeling crappy, puked my guts out, and gone back to the trailer and gotten sick and crawled into bed and died. And Tyler Reddick goes out there and honestly almost has a shot at winning this race. Honestly, he was right there in the top 5. He was contending, and I think all of these factors got in the way a little bit, but he does end up picking up the regular season championship. Feel bad for the guy, feel bad for whoever's dry cleaning the inside of that car, the interior detail guy, and I feel bad for whoever's in charge of cleaning the suits over there at 2311, because it's going to be a rough Monday. I'm going to leave it at that. And now the playoffs enter round number 1 this weekend out at Atlanta. You have Kyle Larson currently leading over Christopher Bell, Tyler Reddick, William Byron, Ryan Blaney, Denny Hamlin, Chase Elliott, Brad Keselowski, Joey Logano, Austin Cindric are your top 10. Daniel Suarez 11th with Alex Bowman 12th, Chase Briscoe, Harrison Burton, Ty Gibbs, and Martin Truex Jr. are your 16 drivers. And you can see right there that Briscoe, Burton, Gibbs, and Truex are all on the outside looking in at the moment. We are in the round of 16 officially. And honestly, I don't think anybody from 9th on down is realistically going to go that far in this postseason period. Logano has had flashes of brilliance, but honestly hasn't been consistent all year long. Same with everybody from there on down. They're not championship contenders. No offense to them. They just aren't. I don't know. This is going to be an interesting playoff race. We're going to do a full preview later this week, and I have a lot of thoughts on who's going to go far, who's not going to go far. Make sure that you mash the subscribe button so that you do not miss that video. And of course, make sure that you log on to arnrace.com for the latest motorsports news. ARN, the Motorsports Authority. I want to thank you so much for watching. For Shifting Gears, I'm Alan Bailey. We'll see you at the track.